Good morning to y'all. If you're actually watching it right now, the second at what is it, 10 minutes to 8. Anyway, I usually do my videos most of the time after work. So that's why you see me looking like hell. It's because I'm tired and I have to go to bed soon. Of course, that's very boring because I say that a lot. hmm And I mean, I'm not trying to be boring. I'm trying to be lively, but sometimes time factor and time constraints allow me to do the video that I need to do at the time I'm doing this. Sorry for the little piano sound there. Um, but here's what I want to talk about. I hate to say I told you so, but I told y'all so. I heard it, when Bernie Sanders dropped out, and I'm not trying to talk about the primaries anymore. It's behind us. We're now in a new political era. The bright side is Donald Trump is no longer president. I know he's going to kick and scream and be crying like the little bitch he is. But thing about it is, Donald Trump, he's he's being very much a little man child. He can't accept that he lost the election. He did. Um, and I'm happy that he's going to legally go. Not happy that Biden is coming in there to replace him, but I'm happy that Trump will be gone. And the thing about it is, you have to understand. Um, I hate any president that sits at the White House at any given moment. So while the resistance people were doing their little Trump derangement syndrome thing, it was just business as usual. I hated Trump just as much as I hated Obama and Bush too, and Clinton and Bush one and Reagan and on and on and on and on and on and on, because everybody who enters the Oval Office will eventually become a war criminal and sell out American workers, especially in this day and age. Enough about a little side tangent. Joe Biden is now president. As I said, I told my lefty friends, my fellow leftists, I kept on hearing, well, it's going to be different this time. It's going to be different because once he's in there, we're just going to be obnoxious and we're going to push him left. We're just going to go and annoy him until he capitulates. Do y'all know the career of Joe Biden as a U.S. Senator from 1973 on to the point he became vice president? He always supported the conservative direction of the Democratic Party in a lot of ways. I mean, especially during the Clinton years. Remember, he was part of the Democratic Leadership Council in its creation back in the 80s. I mean, he was third way all the way. And even prior to that, I mean, remember, I mean, well, we're all sitting there calling Donald Trump a racist. And yeah, Donald Trump did what most Republicans love to do when they're campaigning for president. They love to go and send dog whistles. And it's just the filters were just not quite aligned with Trump. He was a little louder than usual, but suffice to say, still no different from anybody else who's running. Southern strategy is called the Southern strategy for a reason. But here's the thing: you got to remember that Joe Biden, while I wouldn't call him Lester Maddox and I wouldn't call him George Wallace or any of those fuckers from the Deep South, I wouldn't call him equate him with Senator Strom Thurmond in terms of overt racism. he was still racist enough, and maybe on the softer end of the segregationist spectrum, but he was still a segregationist. Remember, Delaware is officially considered a southern state. I know that's kind of hard to believe sometimes. I mean, in fact, I'm going to go into a little side story. I was visiting a friend of mine in Rhode Island a few years ago, and I stopped off at a McDonald's on the way up there off of Highway 95 for breakfast. And a nice family started talking to me, and they found out I was from North Carolina. I, we had a conversation, and he the father or a grandfather, I'm guessing, he was telling me that people in Pennsylvania and New Jersey thinks that all of us people in Delaware are a bunch of hicks. I'm like, really? I'm like, I know y'all are technically considered a southern state, but y'all are very, very northern compared to way down here, way down where I'm from, my neck of the woods. But anyway, that's just a little side story to kind of break the ice. Getting back to Mr. Biden, yeah, he was on the softer end of the segregationist spectrum. A segregationist is a segregationist, regardless. Now, I'm going to give him the benefit of the doubt, and I don't think he's a racist today. I think it was a different time. Still was wrong, but I think people live and learn. You know, I mean, even Strom Thurmond, I'm sure I've heard that Strom Thurmond moderated his views over the years. I mean, but just the point I'm trying to make is he's got that controversial past. Then the age of Reagan came along, and just like a lot of Democrats being frightened, being called liberal, they go and legislate and govern to the kind of rightward leaning to try to win over the Reagan Democrats, and that's what he's been all about all his life. So, what makes you think that you're going to lean or push Biden left? I mean, I don't like Hillary Clinton, but she was to the left of Joe Biden. Maybe the difference between Joe Biden and Hillary Clinton, as far as my spectrum of liking and disliking them both, is I acknowledge that Hillary Clinton probably would be considered to the left of Joe Biden, but she's also on a very personal level more despicable than Joe Biden. Joe Biden is further right than Hillary Clinton, but his demeanor is seemingly more pleasant, meaning that while he was a senator all these years, he was a fierce partisan Democrat, always arguing on behalf of conservative corporate Democrats, but still very much dedicated to furthering the Democratic Party. During the daytime in the Senate hours, he was partisan and fiercely partisan. Apparently, after everybody leave for the day, adjourned for the day. Apparently, he was the life of the party at the cocktail parties, and even the Republicans liked him on a personal level. But the thing about it is, Joe Biden has a history, and I mean, and look what happened in 1991 with the Clarence Thomas hearing, siding with Clarence Thomas. Clarence Thomas, who's one of our worst justices in the court right now, he helped pave way to putting Clarence Thomas in the court. In the 1994, the crime bill, the infamous crime bill, nicknamed the Biden bill. You have to remember, the death penalty was expanded to 50 federal crimes, federal crimes warranting the federal death penalty. And remember the incarceration that took place in the 3 strikes you're out. And you see all the African Americans that were incarcerated over the years because of the way that the laws work. Our criminal justice system is seriously racially flawed as it is. It is geared against African Americans. You also have to understand that when 9/11 happened, much of the language of the Patriot Act was promoted by Joe Biden. And that was a piece of legislation that was floating around for years because they were waiting for a crisis to happen. And 9/11 was that perfect crisis. So now we got the fucking U.S. government spying on all of us because of people like Joe Biden. Remember in 2002, with the war in Iraq being discussed in the Senate, he voted with the majority of the Republicans. Voted, well, a lot of Democrats did vote for that war too. They voted to go and invade Iraq, which was not just the biggest foreign policy blunder in U.S. history as far as what we were trying to achieve, but it was also a war crime. 500,000 people died. Yes, I talk all day long about George W. Bush and Dick Cheney and all those fuckers being war criminals. They were. So was Joe Biden. So was Hillary Clinton. So were all the Democrats compliant in voting for the invasion of Iraq. A violation of international law and a war that was based on a lie. That's Joe Biden. And Joe Biden, being the VP, created prestige for him, so he was able to be the nominee in the year 2020. And I'm not, as I said, I'm not going to talk about that primaries too much anymore. It's behind me, kind of sick of it. But I warned leftists what was going to happen. And when I warned them, and he insulted the left all the way. He went and I mean, he basically just licked his tongue up the assholes of all the never Trumper Republicans while flipping off the left wing Democrats, flipping off the AOCs, flipping off the Bernie Sanders, while just giving rim jobs to John Kasich. This is the kind of person Joe Biden is, and the leftists is like, we're gonna go and push him left. Motherfuckers, this is your chance to push him left. Look what he's doing. He is filling this administration with Goldman Sachs. Hey, what's new? Neocons, deep state, military industrial complex, people in the administration. Again, what's new? Progressives, you're going to push Biden left? Let's do it. Let's do it, because we're going. When he said nothing will fundamentally change, unfortunately, I believed him, and I believed him passionately when he said that he was opposing Medicare for all. And I had to hear Republican Trumpsters say, "Oh, if Biden gets elected, we're going to be a socialist country." I had to scratch my head because every Democrat that ever gets elected, oh, they're going to be socialists. Oh, Joe Biden is a U.S. senator, had the most liberal voting record. Vice presidential candidate Kamala Harris got the most liberal voting record. Senator Barack Obama in 2007 had the most liberal voting record. Senator John Kerry had the most liberal voting record in the early 2000s. Every Democrat that's nominated the right-wing claim socialism is on the march. Oh, they got the most liberal voting record ever. And what happens? Neera Tanden is appointed for Office of Budget Management. I mean, that's unacceptable. I mean, she's tied to Hillary Clinton. She is a fierce opponent of Bernie Sanders. Look at the company she keeps. She is close to Hillary Clinton. She opposes Medicare for all. She hates the left wing of the Democratic Party. I mean, fundamentally hates the left. I mean, she even went as far as to physically assault Faye Shakur, and I'm sorry if I'm not pronouncing that name correctly, from Think Progress when he asked her about the Iraq War. And she's a neocon. Look what happened in Libya in 2011. And what did she do? She advocated with, and no fan of Muammar Gaddafi, but Muammar Gaddafi warned what would happen if his government it collapses. And he says something worse will happen. Look at Libya now. They have brought back slavery. I mean, and the thing about it is, as I said, I'm no fan of Gaddafi, but Libya was one of the wealthiest countries in Africa. They had something akin to a UBI. They had universal health care. They had these things in Libya. Yeah, they were not doing nice things in the 60s and 70s and 80s. Well, it's 1969 when he took over. 70s and 80s. He was horrible for some of the terrorism that he committed against the West. One of the few times you'll ever hear me say anything nice about George W. Bush, probably the most successful aspect of his foreign policy, in a foreign policy itself that was 99.9999999% a failure. The little 0.0001% that was successful about George W. Bush was that he convinced Muammar Gaddafi giving up this chemical and biological weapons program and assisted the West in going after the real bad guys. Neera Tanden was okay with the destruction of Libya, and she wanted the U.S. to confiscate the oil. I mean, you're going to have someone like her coming up with that advice. You might as well put John Bolton in charge. I mean, this is what's the problem here. And she's being appointed to the Office of Management Budget Management. I'm sorry, OBM. This means that trying to push for Medicare for all is going to be extra difficult. Even if the U.S. House votes for Medicare for all, and if the Democrats barely controls the Senate, and with the two runoffs they're going on down in Georgia in January, and the two Democrats win that election, and by race or thin margin, the Democrats control the Senate, and every Democrat votes for Medicare for all, and we're in the U.S. House and the U.S. Senate. What's for starters? Joe Biden said he was going to veto the legislation. Unfortunately, I believe him. This is why I had no regrets in voting for Howie Hawkins of the Green Party. And the thing about it is that add insult to injury, the OBM is tied in with the situation with Medicare for all. She's opposed to Medicare for all, and we're talking about the allocations of the budget and everything. She'll do what she can to undermine Medicare for all. To all the Republicans out there who thinks that we're now socialism USA because Joe Biden and Kamala Harris, who are both to the right of Boris Johnson in the UK, the conservative prime minister in the UK, you don't have to worry. I've seen this shit before. In my 51 years, I've seen this happen time and time again. Get a Democratic president, they go bend over backwards to play patty cake with the Republicans, not to look partisan. And then they go and tell the left, shut the fuck up and stay in your corner. You're embarrassing us. Now, regardless of the U.S. Senate, regardless of whether the Democrats regain the Senate from the instant runoff in Georgia, whereby the Democrats will have a razor thin majority, or if those fuckers, Republican fuckers, win down there in Georgia. Doesn't matter. I hope that Neera Tanden is rejected for the office of OBM, budget management. I hope that she will not become the director of OBM. And I urge each and every one of you to call your U.S. Senator, regardless of what political party they belong to, and urge them to reject Neera Tanden. She's not our friend. Progressives, she's not our friend. She's our enemy. She's every bit as much our enemy as any hostile Republican administration would be. But hell, you got two moderate Republicans as the president and vice president. This is unacceptable. But I know calling out on Neera Tanden is going to make me look like some secretive pro-Trump Republican. Never mind that because our fucking retarded Overton window in the United States, that I am virtually considered, in the eyes of many, in spite of Bernie Sanders' movement, I would be considered a revolutionary communist by a lot of people, just for favoring Medicare for all and strong trade unions and a welfare state, things that we take for granted in other European countries around the world, or in Japan, or in Australia, or in Canada. Somehow, when I say that, the right wing will be like, "You mean Venezuela?" This is unacceptable. But somehow, just like clockwork, the left are going to just be compliant and be meek and sit there and take it. And then when somebody calls them out on it, then they get bitched out. Can't run third party. That'll divide votes. You got to go support the Democrats no matter how bad they are. But once we get the Democrats in there, we'll show them we mean business. Then when we start to mean business, you're just going to help the Republicans when you do that. Stop it! Stop it! Stop it! No, I'm not going to stop it. I'm mad as hell. Because I've seen this shit over and over again. So, I know what's going to happen. We're going to have the nanny state without the actual nanny. This is what Democrats love to do. Give us the nanny state without the actual nanny. Act like they're doing something when they're not, and just pissing off people. And then Republicans come back in with the midterms. And then if you're a left-wing voice, you look like you're being divisive. I'm tired of this shit, folks. I may get in trouble for saying this, but fuck Neera Tanden. If you like what you heard, press like and comment. If you were triggered and bothered, well, tough, comment anyway. As a First Amendment absolutist, it's my duty to inform you that if you have a platform and you're passionate about something, utilize it. If you don't have a platform and you're still passionate about something, go ahead, create that platform, utilize it, because we're all the muckrakers of our time. Feel free to share the content on this channel, and most importantly, hit that bell, subscribe, help make this channel grow. And until next time, I am American Social Democracy, peace, and Bernie Sanders for president in the year 2024.